Hey guys, I'm live and I'm here to talk Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the episode called Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach. I apologize. Last week I had a really tough week. Some stuff happened, some personal shit. So I was not able to come on as scheduled. So this is coming out real late. Hope somebody watches it. And thank you, those that have been watching. I know I have a follower here that's always commenting, and I will check out your comments and respond to them as soon as I can. In fact, let me see if I can do it now. Yeah, it's always that's me. If you've been on my channel, you know everything's kind of last minute. It's 11 o'clock here in Brazil. So I'm a bit tired, but I really wanted to get this out because this is the first episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds that I noticed really split audiences. Um, most of the Star Trek episodes so far from this new series have been just showered with love, and deservedly so. It's a well produced show, and I think it deserves the acclaim that it's getting. My biggest complaint with it is like I'm boldly going where I've been before over and over, and this episode is that a lot. It's very much an old Trek story of this moral dilemma with the society that does something that for us is abhorrent. Us, enlightened humans or the Enlightened Federation is abhorrent, but to them, it's what they have to do in order to survive. And the episode thus begin with Pike running into an old lover. Okay, so it does feel like almost like a TOS script that didn't get produced. I could have seen Kirk in Pike's position, but I think Kirk would have come off a little bit better than Pike. He seems a bit like a watcher or a spectator in his own story. Like this is one of the first Pike-centric stories since maybe the pilot. And he's so passive. There's so much stuff going on around him, and he's just like, yeah, okay. Everybody else is trying to get to the root of things, and he seems to be just caught up with this woman. I know Kirk would have gotten down with this woman, but I think he would have been on top of things a bit faster than Pike was. But anyway, they're in the Magellan system. And Pike had visited there a decade earlier, and he came to rescue this shuttle that was attacked by a larger ship from a nearby alien colony. By the way, I'm using Jamal Epskolkam's review here to jog my memory. It's what I use when we do our Deep Space Nine reviews, which I believe we're going to do on Wednesday or Thursday night this week, because I had a live that I did last night and we're just really tired. And doing back to back to back, or my co-host is really tired. So we will have more Deep Space Nine. Check those out. We had a really interesting discussion about trans rights and with Dax. We talked about a Dax episode. So we went on a tangent for about 20 minutes talking about transgenderism and the wokeness of Trek and the social messages of Trek. So check that out if you will. But this episode here, yes, they rescue the passengers on the ship, and then the ship crashes. And it's kind of weird, this small ship attacked them. And, there's a lot of things about this episode that for me felt weird. This was the first thing. It's like we have this tiny ship trying to attack the Enterprise. Like, why? It's obvious that they have no firepower. They crash on the surface. There's no search party that goes out to check out, hey, are there any survivors on the ship? I mean, it's the Federation. I would imagine that they'd want to do this. But anyway, I guess that's not the main plot line, so they let that go. Instead, we get this young boy that comes on, and this girl named Laura, I believe her name was, and the first servant, which is this boy named, he's just the first servant of Majalis. Okay, and he's this young genius who is supposed to ascend to this throne, and the boy's father Gamal comes on too, and he says he's the father's boy by biology alone. And right away you get, they show their hand too early. You get this sense that, hey, something's up with these people, and even the way that they talk about he needs to ascend and he's crucial to our people. And maybe you don't guess what it is, and I didn't guess what it was right from the beginning, but you knew that there was something up with these folks. And those are always the worst Trek episodes. Pete, my co-host Pete, and I does the DS9 um, episodes with me. We complain about the same things, especially in the first two seasons, that some of these episodes where they have these mysteries, quote unquote mysteries, we the audience figure out way before the crew does, and it's boring. It's like, just look, it's the damn orb that's causing all the ship malfunctions. Look at it. We saw it from episode 1, the emissary, that these orbs are powerful and it's on the ship. So that's the problem. We figured it out, and it takes them like a really long time to figure out why everything's going haywire. Not the ship, the space station. And this is another case of that. It took maybe to the second act before we figured out that, hey, things aren't on the up and up. And that's kind of my biggest complaint with this, is that, what's up, Pike? My criticism of Pike is that he's way too laid back. I mean, I like it in one sense, and it brought fresh life to Discovery, because Discovery is serious all the time. Everything's at 11, if you're a fan of Spinal Tap. Everything's turned up to 11. And Pike came on and brought some levity to the show that it needed. And that's why season 2 for me is still my favorite season of probably any Trek series, other than maybe the original series. It's just a great old season of Star Trek. I mean, I may change that once I rewatch some of these Deep Space Nine episodes. I'm on season 4, and it's rocking so far. So it worked for Deep Space Nine because it was a balance to how, the gravitas of that show. But having it as the main anchor of this show, just the laid back Pike with the cool hair, it can be offsetting for me. It just is like, wait, he's a captain. He should be a little bit more serious. I like the Gorn episode mainly because of that, because we got to see him in command mode. But he does seem like he's just winging it a lot of the times. And it's not to say that other captains haven't winged it, but I guess they hit it more, even from us, the audience, which is kind of how it should be. You should hide that you're winging it, not just to the crew, but also to the audience. I don't know. That's just my take on it. In this episode, he was just completely, in love and lust or whatever, and just this woman was just completely clouding his ability to see straight and figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, La'an and Uhura, they're getting down to business. La'an's training Uhura in the I guess in security. Uhura's getting a taste of everything, which is kind of a cool way to get the other characters involved, is by each week Uhura is being the anchor to these characters, the bridge to these characters, I should say. We had Hammer in that Gorn episode, and now we have her time with La'an. Although the great Jesse Gender did bring up the fact that, hey, didn't La'an come on the ship at the same time as Uhura? Like, she seems like she knows so much about the ship. Why would she know that much about the ship, that much more than Uhura knows? But anyway, those little things like that don't affect me that much. What I thought was not well played is the doctor, which I said last week. I'm trying to get, I'm forcing myself to remember these characters' names. Mbenga, okay, without looking them up, because I want to see which characters stand out. Those are the characters whose names I'm going to remember the most. And Mbenga has not stood out to me. He's just like, okay, if he's there or not there, doesn't really make a difference for me. And his storyline with his daughter, it just, I don't know. I mean, I hopefully it has a good payoff, which would be him being able to save her somehow, some way. Or I mean, I guess if he can't save her, maybe that'll be like a real emotional episode and character growth, I guess we call it. But I don't care. I mean, it's just not a story that interests me. And because this little boy and this whole planet, they're not part of the Federation. They have really, really um, high standards of technology. They're all mega geniuses, and they may have a cure, or for the doctor's daughter. So that seemed like it was going nowhere, except that, I mean, it's an inevitable end, which is okay, he's not going to get the cure. He got like blueprints for the cure. By the way, ooh, spoilers. I always forget to say that at the beginning, but if you follow this channel, there will be spoilers. My bad. Um, so the yeah, I'm not feeling the emotional baggage of this character yet, of having his daughter being stuck in this transporter stasis. Um, it's just not hitting home for me for whatever reason. I think maybe because when she's not there, it's just business as usual, and maybe he's doing that on purpose. It's business as usual because he doesn't want everybody to know his problems, but that adds to lack of drama. Like, I'm not feeling him. I'm not feeling him like I feel Odo, for example. I'm kind of watching these two series back to back, so I may bring up Deep Space Nine. But Odo is a great character in Deep Space Nine that you feel that he's got shit. He's got baggage. He's got issues with his father, quote unquote. The guy that helped him, you know, learn how to shapeshift. He's got baggage because they found the other changelings. And even when he's just doing his regular job, you feel that. Boom. And all the other characters in Deep Space Nine, you feel it. They can still laugh, they can still do business as usual, but you always remember that, hey, this person has some baggage they got to deal with. I don't feel that with Mbenga when the daughter's not there. This is her second appearance now, so I guess this is going to be a big story arc or character arc, but needs to be written a little bit better. And it all culminates to the inevitable surprise, which is they the father is trying to kidnap his own son, because he knows what's going to happen to his son down on the planet, which is he's going to ascend. In other words, he's going to be used. I mean, they didn't really have explained the technology of all of this, but I guess they don't have to. They take this child, hook up some things to his head, and all of a sudden, he powers this whole planet, which is built on top of lava. It was way too fantasy for me. Um, and it's supposed to be a shocker, and it is kind of a shocker, when Pike finally, the light bulb goes off and he says, "Oh shit, they're gonna sacrifice this boy," and he, what do you call it? And he tries to stop it, and this and that. And there's this whole thing with Uhura. They find this little, or Alora finds this metal or this little coin. So she says, "Oh, my own people have betrayed me. They're trying to kidnap this kid," and yada yada yada. There's a little fight sequence. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's whatever. Just to get us to the end here, which is supposed to have this emotional impact, but because there wasn't any time to really digest it, I didn't feel the impact. At the beginning, I did say, okay, this felt like so many retreads of Star Trek storylines from the past, which deal with this ethical issue of like, this planet does this, and should we allow that? But the whole episode is built around, should we or shouldn't we try to interfere? Or if we interfere, like Kirk would have been on this like quick, and he would have been like, "Yo, we got to find a way to stop this. We got to save this boy, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna Kirk chop our way to to this. And Spock probably would have said, but what about the Prime Directive? And Kirk would have been, fuck the Prime Directive, you know? Like the episode where there there was this where they land on this planet with a bunch of quote unquote primitive people who are responding to their god in the cave, and it ends up the god is a computer, and Kirk just blows up the computer. He's like, boom, we ain't having this. Or the War Games one, where the two um, groups of people on the planet play a war game where if the computer says somebody has to die, they lead the person to the little chamber and kill them. It's kind of bizarre, but it's a great episode. And Kirk's like, I ain't having that either. Boom. Kirk even reads the Declaration of Independence to a bunch of folks. So he was totally like, yeah, I'm interfering. I will take me some whales from the past and bring them to the future. I will interfere. And Pike, who has interfered since episode 1. I mean, episode 1 he interfered. Episode 2 he did too. So, well, he tried here. Yeah, I can't say he didn't try. He did do his best to, fight off the guards, but it's too little too late because he was so caught up in that, that poontang, that alien poontang. And although Kirk was a womanizer, not as much of a womanizer as people think. That's a Star Trek myth, by the way. Look up some videos on that. How many women that Kirk really snatched? Not as many as you think he did. But Pike, he doesn't come off like that. This is like a character reveal that all of a sudden he's mesmerized by some poontang. I mean, he was sleeping with the lady in the first episode, in the pilot, but he was able to get on with life pretty quickly and get on with his mission. So he doesn't seem like he has a lot of attachments, but apparently this lady had some good poontang, some alien poontang that he remembered from 10 years past. That's some good. I gotta admit, I've had a couple that I can remember from 10 years past, but I don't think I would let that get in the way of my job. It's 10 years. There's been others. There's been ass in between, So, yeah, things just felt out of character for him in this episode. And I would have liked if they had found this out sooner and the episode centered around that in a way that TNG was great at. That was TNG's strong point, their strength. Is they would find out what the moral issue was in the beginning, and then you'd have, the great old Picard speeches and the back and forth and should we, shouldn't we, what do we need to do, and can't you see that this is not ethical, or about, Picard wasn't, Prime Directive was when needed, just like Kirk, but in a different way, right? Kirk would just rush in and Picard would try to talk his way into making things work out a little bit better. But no, we didn't get this. We got this mystery, quote unquote, that's building up. And it wasn't really a mystery to the audience. We kind of knew that, hey, something shady's going on. At the very least, hey, something shady going on. And then when you reveal that, hey, they're going to sacrifice the child, it's like, oh, it's just like at the end. And then her speech, that didn't really, speaking of woke Trek, and guys, Trek has been woke forever, okay? And I don't even like this word woke, but whatever. It's in vogue at the moment. But socially conscious, I prefer that. Trek has been socially conscious forever. It's been preachy forever. I mean, sometimes more preachy than it needs to be, but it's always been preachy to some level. The best episodes are the ones where the preachiness is just, it's written so well that you don't always notice it's in your face preachy, but then there's some in your face preachy that's great too. I mean, Kirk reading the Declaration of Independence, right? So in this episode here, the preachy side comes at the end with Alora, because Pike's like, how can you do this? And she's like, well, wouldn't you sacrifice one child? This is sacrificing one child to, the get our whole planet to just function. And what's the the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. But then Kirk changed that around when he saved Spock, right? You know, the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. So what is it? And but then she says, yeah, and but then she throws it back on the Federation, and like, you guys have a bunch of suffering children or whatever. I'm like, what? You know, because the Federation, one, Earth is supposed to be beyond that, you know, according to what they say all the time, according to Pike's speech in the pilot. You know, we were on the brink of destroying ourselves, and actually we did. Sorry, yeah, we did destroy ourselves. You're on the brink of doing exactly what we did, but then we course corrected, and we have no more hunger, no more suffering. Well, can't say no more suffering, but you know, got rid of these issues. No children are going hungry on Earth. Okay, no children are in, you know, factories making Nikes for 10 cents or iPhones for 20 cents, right? Got past that. So that fell flat. And then if you're a Federation member planet, aren't those the requirements too? Like that, hey, your society has gotten to the point where you've gotten rid of that. You don't got slave labor, you don't have cheap labor, you don't have children, certainly aren't, you know, working the mines. So you know, we have holographic, the holograms work the mines, but you know, the doctor from Voyager fixed that even. So what's up? You know, they just fell flat. Her speech, you know, because Pike should have been come back and say, hey, we figured our shit out, bitch. You know, you're killing a little boy, you're killing young children. Figure your shit out. And if you can't figure it out, you know, ask for help from the Federation. Get us to move you to a different planet. They do a whole bunch of that in Star Trek. Like, we will relocate you. We'll put you on a non-lava planet. How about that? You know, I'm sure we can find a non-lava planet. In fact, some of your own people are on a nearby fucking planet. Bitch. That's what I would have said. But no, instead, he just kind of gets the dumb look and then, you know, ends looking out into the stars. I did absolutely nothing this episode, which helped resolve this issue. So, yeah, that's how I feel about this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it, though. I'm glad you are enjoying it. You know, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is a fun series. This is, you know, not my favorite one. And I was looking forward to it because I didn't get to make the video. And I tried to stay away from the site so I don't get spoilers. And then somebody was like, the twist at this episode, oh my God, so heart-wrenching. I'm like, oh boy, it's a good one. It's a good one. So I was looking forward to it. And unfortunately, yeah, kind of give it a thumbs down. It had good ideas, but the execution was a bit weak. And look at that. Look at Pike's face there. Totally like, huh? It's like finally he's figuring out that, hey, this might be weird. And that's another thing that I thought was weird. Why would she invite Pike to watch a kid get, you know, I mean, I get it. Invite him to watch the ceremony. And okay, that's okay. But then invite him into the chamber where they're going to kill the kid. And not only this, invite him into the chamber where they're going to kill the kid as they're dragging out, like, it looked like the alien from the pilot episode of the X-Files when they open up the coffin or whatever it was inside that coffin. Scorched Earth alien, or like was it season 3 where Mulder went into the train that was buried, the train car that was buried out in the desert. There were a bunch of burnt up alien bodies. I was like, oh, disgusting. Yeah, why do that? Like, I didn't see the logic in that. So yeah, a lot of things that just didn't work for me this episode. I don't even remember what Una was doing through all this. She was kind of in the background, and I really like her. And that is all, folks. So thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Keep trekking, and that's it. See you next time.